Welcome to Synchronicity. This is episode 15. So this is how I transform in my own space. It's so funny. The topic for today's podcast is all about being alone. I am your boy. I am your music maker. Tahuti Hermes Trismegistus. And I really did have to stop myself because I was just thinking about being alone. And I guess there's a lot of wisdom in making music. And how we all make music when we're alone before we can even use our music to feel like dancing and partying and connecting with other individuals. Literally. So when I'm over here like that's me alone in my space. And me beatboxing is then just channeling it in a way that I can enjoy it in this body while still being alone in my space. I'm here alone. And now I get to share what I do alone with you so we can build upon it together. This is only what the universe is. This is all life is. This is all life ever has been. And is actually, believe it or not, all life ever will be. I promise you. All life ever will be is spirits creating an idea themselves, connecting with it alone. And once they connect with their own idea, now once they feel like not being alone in it, they're going to create the circumstances where they can use their mind to share their idea. And it's always going to be through a body. So this is why spirits can't actually do things to you. You have to be in a body that is in energetic resonance of them being able to have control over you. Which means if you are in that circumstance, then that's because you as a spirit has specifically put yourself in this circumstance so that you can connect with other individuals. So for example, I definitely don't like having student loans. I definitely don't like being scammed out of my whole entire life. Being forced to sit in school just to learn a bunch of lies and then forced to go into debt for a bunch of more lies so I can be a good slave to people who hate me and are actively working to poison my body. Like, no. Like, I hate this objectively. But when after this whole life I fast and get deep into my ability to separate my mind from my body, and then I can connect with my spirit and be in heaven alone, now I understand why I'm here, because it's literally about connecting with people on their level and being able to communicate in a way that allows everyone to level up. So if everyone in this realm is wrapped up in white supremacy and speaking an English language that is working to subjugate their souls to a system that is endlessly harvesting their chi, then yeah, I'm gonna have to create a body in here where I'm forced to ride a vibe that I don't like, because it's the only way I can connect with everyone. So that's why I'm Hermes when I'm alone, right? I'm perfect, quote unquote, when I'm alone. But when spirits are too perfect, no one can touch them. That's the point of God. Everyone's idea of God is too perfect, right? Everyone has this idea of God and they're trying to connect with each other. So they're trying to like project it onto each other instead of just understanding that they as a spirit are alone in their imagination, and that makes them God. And every other spirit is alone in their imagination, and that also makes them God then. But the moment we step outside of our circumstances, now we have to listen to other gods. Because if we were all truly in our God mode, we would be speaking our own languages. We wouldn't be speaking the same language. We wouldn't be watching the same TV shows or playing the same video games or being able to talk about the same movies. So the fact is, everyone has to be under one God because it's the only way we could use one language to relate. But the fact then here is that that one God is just whoever is setting up the circumstances for other spirits to connect. But that doesn't mean that that God created those spirits at all. And you're talking to symmetry, so simply symmetry, the fact is the spirits, it's a two-way street, have to create the circumstances where they connect with God. I had to specifically create a body in here so that I could materialize in at a certain time and connect with everyone that I have in the certain ways that I have. And that's all an expression of me as God. But no one can see me as God, of course. Like, I know that my life is an expression of me as God. All of my lives have been an expression of me as God. It's just, of course, the only way that I can be perceived is to become a human. So now I can be the project of everyone's projections, or the project of everyone's projections. The point is, everyone projects onto everyone so that we can act like we understand each other, right? So everyone in my life, they project onto me based on how they project into themselves, or like they perceive me based on how they project themselves. And then that's where no one ever can really understand you. People are only using your body to understand how they feel about themselves as a spirit, like straight up. So this is the point of our podcast today. We are going to discuss being alone, all one with yourself, not all one with another spirit, all one with yourself. Vibe.
Crying, I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying. I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My soul's been crying wild, my mind's been flying so high. Through the astral plane, macabre brain, I built your game, we're not the same. My soul's been crying while my mind's been flying to relay a word. Those who listen heard, we make our vibe from deep inside. My soul's been crying while my mind's been flying back into my space, called away with haste, so I'll fall with grace to thrill my chase. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying too. Water my earth, I know my worth. My soul gives birth to all my work. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying, so I can't connect with those you neglect. Time to correct how we reflect. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying too. Who flood the scene with energy from my inner chi. I'm free to be me. I felt to inspire you to say how to fly higher too. Fly higher too. Fly higher too. Hang out with the family, your true spot. Don't be sad if you forgot that you've got a spirit squad and you're not true to this spot. Flip a script and break the facade. Take a trip and go abroad. When you're brave, they will apply. We get in touch with your true God. I've been fighting. I've been vibing when I'm dancing with demons, reversing curses and scheming. They be fiending for reasons to change the sins of the season. So I've been falling, cause y'all been calling my mind out of my spirit. I feel it best when I'm near it, but y'all cry for help and I hear it. So Hermes flies out to stare it in a new healthy direction. Will grow through natural connection. So I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C to level up like it's nothing, to turn into something, to bust into function, bumping and pumping with all the wisdom I'm gushing. And when I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C, I felt to inspire you. Simmer higher. I simmer in the skies, I triple in my chi, then I open up my eyes. I balance in my seasons. I mother the cohesion that keeps us intertwined. Balance in my seasons, and I don't need a reason to fulfill my desires. Symmetries.
Being alone. This is going to be a powerful episode, family. Friends and fam and foes. All right, because I know foes. Foes are here as well. We got all three of the F's fornicating on this symmetry right here. Just fucking. Having fun, functioning. This is what friends, family, and foes do throughout all reality. We're all making the universe function because we don't want to be alone, right? Because I don't consider myself to have any foes, but there are spirits who want to connect with me so much, they consider me their foe. And because we are connected, I'm forced to be aware of that. And now I can sort of call that out, even though I don't feel that when I'm alone and I don't feel that when I'm with them. But because I can perceive that they feel that way about me, and I guess that then means that they really feel like a foe when they're alone with themselves, then I can be the project of their perceptions or projections. The project of their projections. Just as, again, this is how hell is created, right? People just having these ideas and feelings when they're alone with themselves, and they can only communicate with you as far as they communicate with themselves. So people have to project their whack perceptions onto you. I mean, this is what I've had to deal with racism, right? So I'm speaking like this is what life has been. Like dealing with the projections of white people, dealing with the projections of black people, dealing with the projections of racist spirits who are lost in an English language that is working to separate them from themselves. And then I have to try and weed through who wants to be separate from themselves or not. So the point of me building my tree, building this symmetry, creating all of everything that I create through all my lifetimes is to be sustainable and happy alone, because I know for a fact it's only proved and proven through endless time when you're happy being alone, you can create the situation where you can actually be happy with others. And this is the issue that I see in white supremacist society. This is what we see in European colonial culture. Indigenous peoples truly don't understand it, especially because they're working with my hermetic principles. We're rocking with the emerald tablets and everything that I was kicking as Hermes Trismegistus. So indigenous peoples, literally as indigenous, we go in to our digits we don't understand not wanting to be alone. And I'm talking about indigenous people spiritually. Obviously, there's many indigenous peoples out here biologically who hate being alone with themselves. But I'm talking about my spiritual indigenous peoples who know that they create life from the inside out. Thus, it's actually that the more people you're connected to, the more your energy and life and time gets consumed. And this is where we start to get into actually just high value, high status spirits versus low value, low status spirits. On a cosmic sense. Because it's always going to be that indigenous spirits are the highest value versus white supremacist spirits being the lowest value. And this is the point of like the paradox of like how it flips. Because indigenous spirits are the most powerful because they literally create life and they don't care about getting credit. Right? So you literally look at nature. Like when we look at true indigenous spirits that go inward, they literally are just connecting with themselves to create the trees that white people want to cut down and make money out of so that they can rape actual indigenous peoples and actual black people better and build a system off of that. Right? So their whole idea of money is based on indigenous spirits. Like this is why money does not exist without nature. Money is literally some other spirit creating an idea on how it can connect with circumstances outside of itself instead of itself, because money is only ever about controlling circumstances outside of yourself. Like you're already in full control of yourself. You already have full freedom. You already have full freedom. So if you already have full freedom, then why are you using your freedom to encroach upon the freedom of others? Unless you literally just don't want to be alone with yourself. And then this is the epidemic of white supremacy and the mentality that's single-handedly causing climate change on planet Earth with all this capitalism and everything. It's about overconsumption and spirits not wanting to be alone with themselves. So then this is where we get into fasting. It's important to fast. It's important to decolonize your mind. It's important to take Callaway's Caduceus and connect with the center of your space so that you can actually create a life and create a symmetry, a symmetrical, a truly balanced simulation that serves you, instead of using your ability to create simulations to serve entities that are not serving you. Because the people who made this language are not serving you. This English language is specifically crafted to make us serve the people who brought it into North, South, and Central America, let alone everywhere else. It's just, I'm Catawba, so I'm focused on North America. Of course, again, with my fasting and mind taking away from my body and everything, I've explored so much past lives. It's all a natural expression of me as Chase. So this is why I can speak like this, because this is how it plays out in all realms and realities. The spirits who don't care about getting credit are the most powerful because they literally make it possible for spirits who want to take credit to take credit. Like duh, like is like that's it. Like it's not that hard. So then it's hilarious because of course the spirits who want to take credit, all they can do is colonize and consume what spirits have already created, the nature that they've already created, and now they're acting like they're artists because they're transforming real art into something that's actually destructive. We can think of the Industrial Revolution and just all this metal technology. That's actually not cool. Like, it's not good technology at all. Like, we can perceive it as good because that's the only way that we would want to use it, and it's all that's around us. And it's no, this is bad technology. It's whack. It's just only good since the Industrial Revolution. So this is why it's important to look at history. Okay, this is why we have our series, Hermetic History. Because when you as a spirit are alone, the moment you step into a timeline or step into a space, you are at the whim of how life has been created in that realm up to that point. And of course, like, if life has been created a certain way, then that's a wave that's going. So anytime you enter the universe, you are literally riding a vibration because you intend to connect with other individuals. So this is why we have to lose control of our circumstances when we are in a body, because losing control of the external world is the only way that we can connect with individuals outside of ourselves. The whole point is literally, like, this is so simple, you feel me? Like, the whole point is you literally in any realm of reality learning how to take better control over yourself and learning how to connect with yourself in a more ST Caducean Callaway able way. Triple your C. Communicate with yourself, communicate with your spirit. This is my whole point of Simicism. This is, and that's all new, right? So like, I can talk about Hermeticism, but like now Hermeticism is like transforming into Simicism. So Hermeticism is all about the frequency and like the fire and like truly being a free bird. Simicism is about turning from a bird into a dog. And now you're in hell helping people connect. And of course, as a spirit, you're both the bird and the dog. Because you're none of it. And like, that's the whole awareness of how much do you believe that you're the body right now? Because my life has drastically leveled up over years, and it's not stopping. It's been quite a ride since I did my 24-day fast in downtown Chicago. And since I've been fasting for weeks and months since then. I'm 15 days in right now. I'm about to be 16 days in once it hits 12. So we're chilling. It's a vibe. So this is why I've created symmetry for, like, the whole point of symmetry as an indigenous superhero was my deeply rooted belief that fasting would allow one to raise one's vibration, to communicate with one's spirit, just like the Bible. Okay, so of course when I connect with my spirit, I find out that the Bible colonized these concepts from me. But of course, then when I come back into a body, it's not relatable for me as Hermes to actually speak with everyone in my life or speak on the normal level of, yeah, the Bible is just whitewash Hermeticism that's meant to make you a slave to whack ass rules instead of knowing that you're creating rules so you can connect in the first place. Now you feel like you need to go to someone else's heaven instead of knowing that you already have your own heaven and you've purposefully stepped out of it into hell so that you can share your heaven with others. But again, this is the high value spirit perspective, all right? The high value esoteric perspective. Okay, so I'm like actually working from the top down, and I get it. Like, this is why I had to create Simicism. Like, it's about connecting with people in an intentional way that protects my psyche from all of their garbage and bullshit and whatever whack internal grossness all these spirits are going through in their own space that they're only going to be able to project onto me once we connect. How do I connect with people? How do I connect with people like this while protecting myself? So that's what symmetry is. That's the whole point, because I want to help as many people as possible. But the more people when I directly connect with someone who needs help, they pull me into their garbage. And then I just get perceived as their negative projections of whatever they've got going on, because it's impossible not to get hit by someone who's fighting themselves. You feel me? Like, when we're talking about spirits who are internally fighting themselves, the longer you spend time with them, they're going to fight you too. And that's what abusive relationships look like. And I'm talking about all levels then, right? Emotional, mental, physical. It manifests physically. It always starts emotionally and then mentally. It starts with the soul. It starts with the feeling. And then it gets communicated through the mind. And then if the mind is really hectic and chaotic, it will manifest through the body, because it's like, let me just transform the body. And then boom, we have abusive relationships because spirits don't like to be alone with themselves. And I can't understand it. And in this lifetime as Chase, I can observe and understand it now based on everything I've subconsciously and somatically absorbed in this lifetime. So I'd like to talk about that now. Because I think maybe, could I structure it to 3 things? There are 3 things. If I can just make it 3, that'd be, nice and simple for us to breathe in. 3 things that in this lifetime specifically, to make it grounded, right? Because we're talking about being alone, and I want this as symmetry for Hermes, for Hermeticism to be as relatable as possible. So it can only be channeled through symmetry, and I have to use my lifetime. That's the whole point of us all being in one vibe and all speaking the same language and like building these same connections and like seeing the same commercials, right? So this is the first thing, the technology that we've all had projected into our space. So as an indigenous person, again, I'm in the perspective, I'm in the truth that I'm alone. And this land was created for indigenous peoples to be alone with themselves. It's now prosperous as America because white people came and used Jesus to systemically rape, murder, and enslave all these indigenous peoples to now build what we're inside of now. So all the prosperity and awesomeness that we're going through is just like a very gross transformation of the true awesomeness that life used to be, which is why climate change is a thing. So all this technology that we're experiencing is shiny. This is why things look good, but they don't even. Like, bro, cities are ugly. You like look at Teotihuacan and then look at Chicago. Again, it's the difference of people who are building from the bottom up, white people, versus people who build from the top down, black people. And it's funny because we can even see in nature that rain falls and fire rises. So it's about balance, of course, because air, right? We come together. There's no, I'll say this before and I've said again and I'll say it forever. There are no black people in existence. There are no white people in existence. We're clearly all human. It's just then, which energy are you most in? So if you see a human who like is super correlated to black, it's because they're really deeply in their water energy. Versus a human who is more correlated to white, they're way more in their fire energy. So this is where we get like indigenous people being black. They're way more water, so they literally create life. Because like that's what the water element is. Like the water element is life in this case. Just in terms of how the water element connects. Because life is connection. Right? Notice how everything in life is connected. The things that are separate in life are the individuals who are making it possible. Right? So like our bodies are connected because we're on Earth. But I wouldn't even say that our minds are connected. Even though they have to be based on our souls being connected. But that's where I would say I have my own mind. So I have my internal mind and then I have my external mind. So I'm constantly translating my internal mind to my external mind. And that is connected to the universe by my feeling of being connected. Thus why my heart is beating and constantly pumping blood through my body, just like you. That's our subconscious world. So spirits who resonate more with water, resonate more with creating connections. Whereas spirits who resonate more with fire, they like to create separation. So this is literally why white people systemically rape and brutalize black people. Whereas black people don't do that to white people. We don't see that in nature. I haven't seen it in simulations. Yet it happens the other way around. Consistently, actually. So it's amazing how it's like, it's about the internal to the external first. Truly, it's about the internal to the external first. If you as a spirit internally feel like creating more separation, then you're going to manifest as a white person. You feel me? Because it's about like the color that your body is putting out. if you're a spirit that desires to manifest connection, then you're going to put out black skin. So this is literally the color thing. So this is why black absorbs and white reflects light, literally. Like, again, this is to bring it to science. You see how the spirit creates science to reflect the spirituality. So, boom, it's right there. This is why black people, not to say they're doomed, it's just kind of whack because they like consistently get enslaved by white people. Because it's the natural elements playing out of fire wanting to project into the space of water to create a communication that makes a structure that supports the imaginations of those fiery spirits. So this is how the Americas were created. This is how Africa is created. This is how, this indigenous planet has been invaded, basically. So Earth is a water-based planet, right? It's 70% water. Why are we calling it Earth? It's because of everything I just explained. It's because of entities with their white supremacist fiery projections projecting, inserting, forcefully putting their ideas into this body of water that is being created by indigenous spirits who just want to connect. And so because indigenous spirits just want to connect in this body of water, they're creating life. And then the spirits who want to create separation come in and use a concept like money to control and capitalize on how indigenous spirits connect. And now they're able to create all this air. Now we have the interaction of fire and water. And now this is the communication of white supremacists versus indigenous spirits, or white people versus black people, or fire versus water, or more masculine type spirits, masculine, being projection, separation, versus more feminine type spirits, reflection and connection. And then that just creates balance. So we are none of these things as spirits, right? Like, notice I'm an indigenous person talking like this. My skin is light. Like, it's not like I have black skin. So based on the science of what I'm saying, I am technically a spirit that is about creating separation. So this is where, like, the color thing that I'm talking about isn't even racial. Like, we know race is cultural, my guy. Like, we know that. So we know that there can be any kind of people of any kind of color in any culture. So I'm kind of just bringing attention to, skin tone being more so representation of the energy that you are in as a spirit. And you're either more here to project, which looks like being separate, and that's individuality. Right? So like, I'm a champion of individuality, and like, I'm here like being seen as an individual, versus someone who has much darker skin. They're way more about the collective. And then they're way more about not being seen because they're focusing so much on serving. This is why it's like so literally just destined how black people again get enslaved by white people, because they're literally spirits who are creating the situation where they would rather serve. And then it's just like the lesson of indigenous spirits or water-based spirits learning how to serve themselves. And that's what creates earth. So that's where water goes outside of itself. Water will serve fire outside of itself, and the fire is projecting into it. And the fire will project into it to create the air that will create the earth. But if the water can connect with itself, because the fact that the water exists means that it has its own fire. The fire does not necessarily have its own water, even though it does to like connect to water, but like it doesn't feel like it has its own water, so it doesn't manifest that way. AKA white supremacists, European peoples don't feel like they have a soul. That's why they feel like they need to consume the flesh of indigenous peoples to learn how to make music and make magic and make art and manifest their dreams.